Hey everybody, I'm Corinne Blackstone and welcome to my craft room. Before we get started, be sure to subscribe to my channel. I put out new videos all the time and you won't want to miss out on any of the fun, crafty things that we have coming up. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make your very own explosion box from start to finish using Cricut Design Space. Now you will need to do this on a computer because we are going to be using offset. But this is such a fun thing that you can do. I'm going to show you how to make the lid and the butterfly. And then our little box is going to have some butterflies around the edges as well, with quite a few layers in between. This is something really fun that you can do. These make great little presents, little memory keepers, all sorts of things, and they're really easy. I think they look more complicated than they really are. So let's get started.
Whatever we would do, we do it just for fun.
We are going to make an explosion box from start to finish. These are really fun. They're really cool. There's lots of ways that you can use them. They're great for like money boxes. If you're like maybe announcing a pregnancy to family, things like that. Really cool. So I'm going to show you start to finish how to make one. You can embellish them in different ways, but we are going to go ahead and get started. The first thing that you'll need to do is just start with a simple shape, and we're just going to start with a square. Now, I like to just start with a simple 2-inch square. It's really easy. The measuring's super easy using 2 inches, and we'll expand from that size as we go. So the first thing that you'll need to do, you actually need a total of 5 squares. So I'm just going to duplicate this 4 times so that we have 5 squares. So I'm going to use the X and Y position to help get this all set up. So I'm going to change this Y position to 3. And that way I can just simply take this one and I'm going to put it on Y position 1 because that is 2 inches from the Y position of this square. Now it can help to make the X position something as well. So I'll just put it on 5 just to make it easier. And then we'll change the X position on this one to be 5 as well. And you'll see that it lines them up perfectly. So then you kind of just have to really do math and figure that you put this one on 3. So then just add 2 to this for your Y position. So you'll put that one on 5. Now, if you don't feel like moving the X position, all you simply have to do, select all 3 of your blocks, align them, and you can just simply center them. Then what I need to do is weld them. Now, for this one here, we need to put these two on the 3Y position so that they're evened up with our box. And then I'm going to put this one on the 7 because that is 2 inches. And then this one we will put on the 5Y position. No. This one we're going to put on the 3Y position and then the 3 here. And that looks really good. And just select everything and weld it. Now, I know that using X and Y can be a little bit confusing, but it's going to help you line these up a lot easier than trying to eyeball it or using the align tool. So you want to just kind of think about it in like math terms. So if you have something on the 1 position and it's 2 inches and you need something to line up with it on its right side, you just add 2 to 1, making it 3. I know it's a little confusing, but once you really start playing with it, you'll see that it works pretty well. Now, I know that using the X and Y positions can be a little bit confusing, but think of it as just a math problem. So if you have a 2-inch item on the 1, you need to put the next item, if it's 2 inches, on the 3. So just add 2 to 1. Once you play with it a little bit, it makes more sense when you're physically doing it, but that's how I like to do it to line it up. So once you have your first box, you can always resize, but I'm going to leave it this big for now so that you guys can see. We're going to use the offset for this, so this is something that you'll want to do on your computer and not on your phone or your tablet. So click on offset, and 0.25 is a little bit large, but I'm going to let it load because it does take a second. And you'll want to make sure that you're using the squared edges, not the round. So I like to do it about 2, like about 0.2. That gives just enough where I can kind of fold my box. So I'm going to click apply. And you'll see now that you have 2 of these boxes. I want you to select the black offset, so the backmost offset, and I want to offset it again. I'm going to keep it at 0.2 and click apply. Now you can do this for as many of these boxes as you want to make. So it's really up to you and how many you want to do in your set of boxes. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a couple of them. I think that's pretty good. That'll give you a good idea. Now I'm just going to cut these on 8.5 by 11 paper. So I'm going to make them bigger so that we can see what we're doing a little bit more. And I want to change the colors so it's easier to see the different layers. So I'm just going to kind of change our colors here so that we can see what we're doing a little easier, and because they just make them gray and black. So I feel like adding a little color will help us differentiate the different layers. Now I want to add something that goes between this section here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into images, and let's go ahead and put a butterfly between them because I think that'll be fun. So I'm just going to scroll and find a butterfly that I like, that I think will cut out nicely. And I've used this one a ton and it works great with cardstock. So I'm just going to go ahead and add that to my canvas. Now I would like this to look kind of layered. So I do want to take that butterfly and make it look a little bit fancier. Now you'll notice that you can't see the butterfly. Look up here at the X and Y positions. It's like way down here. So let's just change it to like 5 and there it'll show up. Now I do want to make an offset for this. So I'm just going to click offset. And I'll just use the 0.2 offset again because I think that works pretty well. He's a little bit wide, so let's change it to like 0.1. I just want enough of an offset where I can put a color or like the black lines on top of it and it'll look a little bit neater. So that looks pretty good. I'll go ahead with that and I'm going to click apply. Now you'll see that there are holes in it, which we don't want. So go into your contour and you're going to hide all contours. It's really simple. You just click that and it makes a solid outline. So you can see now it's solid. Let me go ahead and undo that. Because we need 4 of these little guys, I'm just going to duplicate it once, just so I have an extra guy sitting just in case something happens. I'm going to attach these so that it's easier for me to size and move them, and then I'll unattach them in a minute. But what I want to do is I want to position my butterfly into this little area here between my box. So you kind of need to maneuver it a little and figure out about where it needs to sit in order to fit into your box. So you may need to shift it a little and play around with the sizing, but I think that looks pretty good. I think it looks like it'll fit okay. But again, this is something you're going to need to play with and kind of figure out what fits. And you can kind of rotate it if you need to, things like that. Size it down, size it up. You can make them pretty small. It really is up to you and how you want to do it. So I think I'll make him a little bit bigger because I do want him in there. I think that looks pretty good. So what I want to do now is I'm going to go ahead and duplicate him. And all I simply need to do over here is to just flip him and flip him horizontal. And then I can kind of position him as best I can into that same spot where he is over there. That looks pretty even. So what I'm going to do is duplicate again. And the reason I'm not detaching right now is it's just easier just to not have to detach. It's a little tough to get him to flip exactly the way you want him to. So you just kind of got to, again, just play with it. Position him where you think he should go. And then duplicate that one. And then you'll do the same thing. You're going to flip him horizontal and he'll be able to attach right over here. We no longer need this big one. We can just delete it. Now what I want to do is I want to detach all of these just because I find it just easier. This is just the way I do it. But again, I do just find this a lot easier to do it this way. So I'm going to detach all of those. Now what you want to do is select the solid butterflies over in your layers tab and the bright blue box and weld them. So you'll see that the back of your butterflies will turn blue. Now it is going to pull that to the front of your box. Go ahead and just pull this back down in your layers tab and you'll see now that you have your butterflies. Now you don't have to change the colors of these, but you can if you just want to get a visual of what this is going to look like. So I'll just change these. And it won't matter what color you make them. It's only going to matter what color you put your cardstock in. So now that is our box. It's all set to go as far as the like decor on the edges. So now that we've got our outside embellishments all kind of set up, we can do some for the inside. Now, we did resize these, but that's okay. It's not really too hard because we're just going to use some shapes to create some like colored things that you can put in. So basically all I do is I just sort of set my square in here, and I do need to make this a little smaller. And I just sort of size it to where it's not going to be over the bottom edge or the top edge. And then I just duplicate it 1, 2, 3, 4 times, however many you want to make of that. And you can use like a patterned cardstock for these. It's really fun. And you can just kind of grab those and move them out of the way just so that you got one set done. Like I said, you really can do whatever you want with this. It's really up to you. Now, again, I like to make them a separate color. That way I know that those are going to be cut for a different portion. Now, I'm going to move the red out of the way because we've put the embellishments for that. And I just like to stack them so it's a little easier. So let's do, in this one, let's do a different shape. Let's do a heart for this one. So it's going to be the same general concept depending on how you want to do it. So that heart looks like it's going to fit really well. So I'm just going to go ahead and change the color of it. And I'm going to just do this one 4 times because we'll just put that in there, 4 times. That's fine. So then I'll just grab all of my hearts and I'll grab my orange. And then I'll just move those off to the side as well. And then you can just kind of continue to put any embellishments that you want to throughout your box. You can do little words. You could actually write on this if you wanted to. It's really up to you and how you want to do this. So let's just do a little bit of writing really quick, and I'll just show you how to do that. So I'm just going to put my name. We'll just make it easy. And then I'm just going to choose, let's go here and let's do filters and let's look for writing fonts. And I'm just going to pick a random font. I don't really care what font it is. It doesn't totally matter since I'm just showing you a general idea on how to do this. So if you wanted to write inside your box, let's say that we're going to write on this side of it. I'm going to flip this so that it is straight. And then all I want to simply do is make sure that it is selected for pen. I'm going to select the writing and our yellow box and just click attach. Then it will write on that box. And you can put any writing that you want on here. You can kind of put it wherever you want. And then this here is the green box. So let's do, what do we want to do with the green box? Let's do like a frame. So let's see if any of the images we have a frame. Because you can use the different images that you have on your design space to create different things inside. So let's use this frame. This one's kind of cool. So we'll add this one to our canvas. And then all we simply have to do is size it to fit into our exploding box. So this one's going to be a little bit wide and chunky just because it's the bottom box. So you may need to play with this to get it to fit a little bit. And you can always unlock it and stretch it and make it like an oval. So it's really up to you and how you want to do it. But we'll just do one of those. You know what? Let's go ahead and just do 2. 2 of them will work. Yeah, we'll just do one on each side and we'll glue them down. That's really cute. Super fun. So we'll go ahead and move these. Again, I just do this because I just need to move everything off so I can kind of keep an eye. So this is our outside layer. You can add embellishments if you want to. It's up to you. But I am going to need to move these butterflies out of my way because now it is time to add our score lines. Now I know making your own exploding box is quite a few steps, but it's totally worth it in the long run because it comes out super cool. So we need to use some score lines and we just need a couple. We really just need one box around the middle. And then I'm going to put score lines on my butterflies so they're easier to fold into our box. It's just a lot simpler if you already have them. So let's just start with the line first. So if you go to shapes and you choose this first one, that is a line. And it may take a second to come up. I've noticed it's a little bit slow sometimes. So this is your score line. So I'm going to do the butterflies first, and then I'm going to show you a really quick trick to doing the ones for the insides of your boxes because it's a lot easier. So you don't need to do a really big line. You want to make sure that it covers your entire butterfly, and I like to go a little bit further beyond, but I don't need to go too big. Then all I want to do is I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to flip it horizontally and just drag it over to the other butterfly. You want to get it pretty centered on your butterfly, but if it's not perfect, it's okay. not really the end of the world. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate again and move it down, and we'll just move this one over here. And again, just get it as centered as you can. Again, it does not have to be perfect. And then I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this one. And then I'll just pull this one down to this other butterfly. Again, just making sure that it's covering your entire butterfly. I think I need to move that one over just a smidge. Okay, that looks pretty good. So we need to do a score line for the center. If that ever happens, just click undo. I accidentally grabbed the box and moved it when I clicked. So we need to do a score line for the center of our box now. So what you can simply do is just open a square. And I'm going to line it up with this corner here. And then I'm just going to stretch my box out, because these should still be an exact square. And that's simply all I needed to do here. And then all I want to do is change my operation to score. It'll look like the box disappears, but you'll see now you have a score line. Now what I want to do is select my butterfly score lines, my box, and my middle score lines, and click attach. That's going to make this all one section, and that way nothing moves. Go ahead and slide that out of the way, and we'll just grab our next box, and you'll do the same thing. Get a shape, grab a square, line it up, and change it to a score line. You'll do that for each of your boxes that you have for your exploding box. Using the offset is such an easy way to make these exploding boxes. So all I'm going to do is just then again, select the middle box, change the cut lines to score, select both items, and attach. You want to make sure you attach the score lines to your box. If you don't, your score lines will move and it will be an absolute mess. So again, we'll just do all of them. I'll get these done really quick. Now you've seen me do 2, and then we're going to be ready to cut everything out. Once you have everything ready to go, you can get ready to cut this. So I'm just making sure I kind of have score lines on everywhere. Looks good. So now go ahead and click Make It. This is going to be a lot of pieces. I'm cutting on my Maker 3, so I just need to tell it I'm using the mat and click Continue. So right here, I've got these little butterflies. Those I'm just going to cut on some black cardstock. And then I'll kind of play with the colors. I'm not sure what colors I'm going to do just yet, but I'll kind of pull some. And you'll see here that we have all of our different boxes. And you'll see that they kind of get bigger. We've got the frames. And then here's the biggest box. This is the one with the butterflies. And we can actually make this bigger, so we might go back and do that. And then we have the squares. And then this one is our little hearts. Now, let's say that we decide, we kind of look at it and we're like, you know what? I could make that bigger because I have like a larger piece of paper to work with. That's easy enough. Select the entire thing. So you want to make sure everything is selected. And I'm just going to double check that my entire layers panel is selected. You can also select all. And what I want to do is I'm just going to align them and center them. Don't worry that you can't see everything. It's just kind of behind itself. So we'll go ahead and just kind of expand this. Because maybe, you know what? Let's do this on a 12 by 12 sheet of paper so that we can make this bigger so you guys can see what we're doing. So now that we've expanded our size, it's really important that you expand everything at the same time. All the embellishments, everything is expanded. And that's why I kind of do the score lines and the attach first. Now that I've decided on what size I want my design to be, I'm going to kind of move these smaller boxes out of the way because I just want to look at the big box here and its measurements. Because we do need to make a lid for this, of course. You're going to want to have some form of a lid. So the lid is kind of super easy once you actually do the score lines. And that's partially why I do the score lines first. So what I want to do is I'm going to select just the square and I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to change this back from operation of score to a basic cut. Because this is the size of the inside of your biggest box. Now, we do need to expand it a little bit, but you don't have to go very big. Literally just a tiny, tiny little bit. That way you can kind of fit the box inside of it. This is going to be our lid. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to scoot this out of the way because it's just kind of blocking my view of what I need to do. Like I said, this is a lot of steps, but it's really worth it in the long run because it looks really cool once you're done. Now, what I need to do is I need to create some edges for my box in order for me to be able to create the edges for the box, if that makes sense. So once you have your square, we're going to need to make the edges of our box top. So this is going to be your lid. First thing I want you to do is to duplicate the square. You're going to need the square again, so just duplicate it. Then what we'll need to do is to actually make the lip of our box. Now, there's a couple ways that you can do this, and the one way that I kind of prefer to do it because I think it's a little bit easier is to actually just expand this box. So we know how large our box is, width and height, and you just need to figure out how tall you want your lip to be. I usually do about 1 inch. So if we want a full inch lip around, we actually need to add 2 inches to our measurement. So this is actually going to go from 5.297 to 7.297. So I just changed the 5 to a 7, and we've got a larger box. Now we have this box that will go inside of it, and I'll change its color so you can see it better. This box is going to become our score lines, which is how we're going to fold our box top. So what I need to do is I'm going to select both of our boxes. I want to use the align option and the center option. Apparently I had them really centered to begin with. Select your yellow box, and you want to change that to your score line. Very nice. Perfect. So now what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and select this and attach it. That way it doesn't move. Now we need to cut our edges so that we have tabs so we can fold our box. So what I want you to do is simply grab the shapes, and you're going to grab that score line again. And this is super easy to do. We're just going to move our score line over to our box, and you can use this right here where it's got the height and stuff to change how big your score line is, or you can just drag it yourself. It's up to you. I like to just drag it myself personally. I just find that to be a little easier. So then all I want to do is get it lined up with my score line. Just going to kind of tweak it around. And it is a little hard because these measurements get in the way and it's super annoying. It's one thing I can't stand. So I want to make sure that it goes all the way to the top of my box, and I want to make sure it goes all the way to my score line. Before you do anything else, go ahead and just choose this and change it to the basic cut. That's going to give you a slice in our box to make our tab. Now we need to make 4 of them, so I'm just going to duplicate them, and all I want to do is once it's duplicated, I'm just going to do the same thing on each corner. Is I'm going to line it up with the box and the corner. So you'll do that for all 4 corners. So again, we'll just take this and we'll duplicate, and we'll just pull it over here and get it lined up with the corner. Again, you want to make sure that it does go all the way to the edge. It can go a little over the edge if you need it to, just to make sure that it is going to cut all the way to the edge. Like that one didn't go all the way to the edge. So I need to pull it up a little bit. I need to move it over just a touch. All right, that is not quite right yet, so just kind of play with it till you get it right. That looks good. Then you want to select everything again and attach. So again, that's going to cut the tabs into our lid so that we're able to fold it over. Like I said, this is a lot of steps, but they look really cool when you're done. Now, you can make the lid the same color as your outside if you want. It's up to you. You do whatever you want to do. You can add embellishments to the lid. We could add another butterfly to the lid. Really, whatever we want to do. I'm going to go ahead and cut mine in the same color as the outer box, but they won't fit on the same page anyways, so I'm not really worried about changing the color. Once you have everything attached, a lot of times it won't let you change the color anyways, unless you just specifically select the square over in the layers tab. So we'll just change it. But they won't cut on the same sheet of paper. It won't matter. But if we wanted to add like a butterfly to the outside, which is really cool, you can just go back into your images, find the butterfly that you used or whatever you want to put on top. You could use a flower. It's really up to you. However you want to do it. I'll just use the same butterfly. I'll add it to the canvas because I want to show you guys how to make this really like start to finish, really nice, fancy, using things that you probably already have, which I'm sure most of you already have cardstock. So it's really easy to do. Again, he's going to end up in a weird spot. I don't know why. That's just what they do with this poor butterfly. He just ends up in a strange spot. Now, he can be pretty big because we want him to look kind of big on the top of our box. I'm going to, again, add an offset to him so that he has some color behind him. And it, again, takes a minute to load, so just give it a couple seconds. I don't want a really big offset on this because I want the black to almost look like the outline of our butterfly, so I like to give him a really much smaller offset than what he already has. So sometimes like a 0.05 can work really well. It's just really up to you. Go ahead, click apply, and you'll need to use the contour option again on your offset. So just go to contour, hide all contours, and then he'll become solid. Now again, you can cut them in whatever color you want. I'm going to cut the top part in black again, and then I'll just change this to, I don't know, we'll just make him like his own color so that he can cut. I'll figure out what color I want him to be once I've figured out all the others. But you'll be able to line them up and it'll be really, really cute. So now that we have all of our pieces and our parts and everything's attached, we can click Make It. Now this could take a minute to load because it is quite a few pages. But I'm cutting with my Maker 3, so I am going to use it on mat and click Continue. So I'll show you all of our different pages. So that's like the main butterfly that's going to go on top of our design, our box, and then we have our smaller butterflies for the inside. And then you'll see here that we have each of our box pieces. And again, I just broke them out into different colors. These are not necessarily the colors that I'm going to use. Here are some of our frames that we're going to use inside. And then here is the big main portion of our box. Here is the lid for our box. And then here are some of the squares we're using on the inside, some hearts, and we're good to go. We are ready to cut. Now I'm going to cut this on the medium cardstock setting with some cardstock that I have from Michaels. So we can go ahead and get ready to cut this out. Now I've laid out all of my paper in the order that it's going to cut, and I found this really cool holographic. So I'm going to use that one to cut our butterfly. And that's where we're starting with our cardstock, is on to the butterfly that's going to go on the top of our box. Now I have a brayer here because my mat isn't super sticky, and this can really help your paper stick down a lot better. So you can just kind of run this brayer over it. I'm going to link everything we're using down below. That way you guys can do this too. Now we're just going to go ahead and load the Maker. Now what this one does is it measures my mat, then it will check my tool, then I can hit go. Now we need to change the tool in our Cricut because we're using the scoring wheel. So what I need to do is find my scoring wheel, and I'm never sure which one I put it on. It's this one. So you'll see a 1 or a 2. I have the double scoring wheel and the number will be right on the side. What you're going to do is open clamp B, pull out your fine point blade, set that to the side, and then line up the gold gears and then close clamp B. Super easy. We're going to have to do that for each of our cardstock pieces for the box. So let's go ahead and load this. This is going to be our smallest box. So what you'll see is it's going to go ahead and measure our mat. Then I'm going to hit go. It'll check our tool and all that. Then what it'll do is it's going to score. Then it will ask me to change my tool back to my fine point blade, and I'll have to do that for each of our boxes. So now you'll see that the play button flashes again, the little go button. And that's just telling us that it wants us to change our tool back out to our fine point blade. And then it will cut around the box. Then all we have to do is just hit the button again and it'll do all the cutting. Okay, so this is the one that we need to write on. So we have to actually do two things. So number one is to put the pen in. I'm just picking a random pen. This is the big calligraphy pen. The pens don't work great on this type of cardstock, but it'll be fine. So what I did is open clamp A, took the cap off my pen, and then you press it in until it clicks. I put one finger on the bottom and press the pen down from the top. Then we need to put in the scoring wheel as well. So we have to change out both of these things. And then we can load our mat. And like I said, this smears a lot, so we'll see how it does. I'm going to actually move the star wheel away from that edge where it's going to write the name. And we'll see how it does. But this paper is not great for writing. I didn't think about that when I chose it. I forgot that we had writing set, just so you guys could see it. So we'll give it a shot, see how it does. Okay, so now what we need to do is to switch out our tool again. I'm going to go ahead and switch that, and I'm going to take my pen out as well because we don't need it, and I'm going to say it is probably going to smear, but we'll find out. Now that we've everything cut out, we can assemble, which is probably my favorite part. So let's go ahead and start with the big butterfly, just because I think that'll be easier. I'm using art glitter glue for this, and this is my favorite glue when it comes to doing like cardstock projects. It doesn't make your cardstock like curl up or anything because it's not super wet, but you do want to make sure that you kind of use a light touch. You don't need a lot. And I just make sure that I kind of get around all of the edges. Like I said, you don't really need a ton. It's pretty good glue, but I do like to just make sure I get all of my edges. And it dries completely clear. It doesn't dry crazy fast, but it does dry relatively fast. It dries fast enough that you can use it on your cardstock projects and work pretty quickly without having to wait forever. So I just try to kind of put glue on some of like these bigger areas just to make sure that they're going to get stuck down. Now this stuff does tend to clog, so just have a needle ready if you leave it sit too long while it's like drying. And don't worry if you don't get this exactly where you need it the first time. You can slide it a little bit. Mine's actually pretty good. Go me. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and press this down, and we'll set this guy off to the side. This is the butterfly that'll be on the top of the box. Isn't that cool? I really like that. I think that's fun. So I'm going to go ahead and skip the big piece of the box because I need to do some glue on that one, and I just want to make sure that I have enough space to like lay it out because I need to put the little butterflies on it. So this is the one that we wrote on, and it does smudge if I put my hand on it, so I just need to be careful. So what you'll see is you'll see your score lines, and that makes it easier to fold. Like it'll fold super simple. And I have a bone folder, which can help you get a really nice crisp fold. And you can get these on Amazon or at your local craft store. Now, like I said, this might smudge a little, but what you're gonna do is fold in all of your sides. So you're gonna kind of have 4 folds to go over, and you're gonna do this for each of your boxes. So I'll speed this part up because this part's pretty standard. You just kind of fold on that score line. And like I said, I just like to use my bone folder to get a nice crisp fold, and then you'll start to see where it's gonna create your box. Now this one I'm gonna fold after I glue these on because I want to give them like a little bit of time to dry, so we can do kind of the middles of the other parts while we wait. Now all you're gonna do again is just use the glue. Now, my little tip that I have, there's a little like needle tip. It gives you like a really small amount of glue. Mine's super clogged, so I'm just gonna have to kind of like run without it, which stinks because I really don't want to do that. But I couldn't get it unclogged, so I had to give up. If that happens, you can usually just put it in hot water and unclog it, but I don't feel like doing that right now. So we're just going for it. So anyways, I just put, same thing, I just put glue kind of around the edge. If you don't get the whole edge, I wouldn't worry. But do make sure that you get glue on the little antennae. And then trying to pick it up without getting glue all over my hands is a whole adventure. I usually end up with glue like everywhere when I do these. So I'm just gonna, again, line it up best I can. Don't worry if the glue seeps out. Glue dries completely clear. So don't worry about that. And then just sort of get it all like even. And then usually I'll just spread the glue a little bit just so it'll dry quicker so it's not like a big glob. So we are going to assemble our lid really quick, which is super easy. You saw I folded the tabs in. So I'm just going to put some glue on the tab, and you do kind of want to use a lot, and then fold it in to create the box top. And you want to try to get it as even as you can. And then I have these little clips that I got from the Dollar Tree, and they are perfect for holding this type of stuff together. They work great. They clip really tight, which is nice. So I'm just going to go ahead and get these clipped all the way around. And you just want to make sure that you're getting this nice and straight and even. Oops, and that one slid when I clipped it, so we'll just re-clip. It's okay if it moves, it's just glue, it's not fully dry yet. And I just like to give it a clip. And then we'll get this one. And again, it's okay if the glue seeps out, not a big deal. Nobody will see it, so it's fine. It'll glue, it dries completely clear. And the clips are silicone coated, so it won't even stick to those either. I do like to try to make sure I get the clip pretty close to the edge so that it holds it pretty well. But you can start to see the box top forming. And we'll get this one kind of all evened out. Now the clips do cause it to kind of bump out a little bit. Like you can see this one's kind of pushing out. I'm going to go ahead and re-clip that one a little closer to the corner. So we'll let this one sit over to the side with the butterflies where it can dry. Grab these. And now we can kind of put our little extra pieces in. So remember we made the little squares to go in the one, which is in for this one. And then we have these little frames, and then we have hearts. So again, it's just simply gluing things on. This is, if you've ever scrapbooked, yeah, there we go. This is basically just like scrapbooking. You just paper and make pretty things. So I'll go ahead and get all of these inside pieces put together, and then I'm going to show you how we're going to glue the boxes together, and then how we can fold up the lid after that one, or the big piece after that one dries. So we've got everything pretty well dry. So what I like to do is I just do like a quick dry fit just to make sure that I have everything in the correct order to which it goes, because if you have it in the wrong order and you glue it together, it's not good. So that looks like the right order, and then we have our bottom piece, which is pretty much ready to go. So let's go ahead and we're gonna fold our bottom piece. So now this one can be a little bit scary because of the butterflies. So what you'll need to do is very, very carefully fold on this line here where you have your score line. I don't like to use the bone folder because I don't want to fold my butterflies that direction, because my butterflies are going to actually fold inward. So instead of folding up like this, your butterflies are actually going to fold this direction. And it's going to feel a little bit tight. You're not going to fold them all the way just yet. I just like to go around and I'm going to fold all of my flaps and gently fold my butterflies. But again, I'm not using the bone folder because I don't want the butterflies to lay flat, because the butterflies fold inward. So you can see I'm just giving it like a light You see I'm just barely folding the butterfly right now. Once we have all of the edges folded, it will be easier to fold the butterflies, but it is helpful to fold them just a little. So as you can see, I'm folding the edge, and then I go through and I fold the butterfly this direction. So his little wings and his middle is going to go towards the center of your box. We have one more side and one more butterfly to go. And this one is going to feel really awkward while you're trying to fold it. It's going to feel like it wants to go different directions. And don't worry, we don't want it to do that. So once you have all of your edges folded, you can go ahead and bring up your edges. And now is where you can fold your butterfly. Do you see how my butterfly now lays flat? That's what I want him to do. So we're going to do that to each of our sides. And we're just going to bring up our butterfly and fold him flat. We're going to do that over here. And like I said, that's why we kind of folded him inward, because once your sides are folded up, he will lay flat inside of our box. Okay. So now you can see they're kind of a little more 3D. So now what we'll do is glue all of our box pieces to the inside of each other because we don't want them to move. And then I'm going to put something heavy on them, and we'll do, you know, we're going to let them dry for a little while, and then it'll be all done. So again, all I do is I just put some glue all around the edge, and I like to just kind of give a little in the middle. You don't have to use a lot. And then all I'm going to do is set my box down. I want to make sure it's centered. That looks pretty good. Give it a good pressy press, and then move on to the next. You can totally stack them while they're drying. It's not a big deal. Then all I'm going to do is I'll usually just find like a heavy book or something, but the Cricut tool holder will work fine as well. Make sure to close up your glue. I do recommend having a baby wipe for this when you put your glue away, because you want to make sure that any residual glue that's on the outside of the art glitter glue is cleaned off, or your lid will stick to it. So we're going to let this dry for a little while, and then we can take out the whole assembled product. Now, let's go ahead and do the butterfly on the lid, which is going to be pretty big. So what I want to do is I'm going to actually fold up his wings a little bit. I'm not going to give him a full fold. I'm just going to give him a little fold so he's a little more like popping up off of the box. So it's just going to be glued along his body portion, so his antenna and his little body. So what I'm going to do is grab some glue, and I'm just going to put a generous amount. Again, you don't have to use a ton, but you do want to make sure you've got a good amount here on him. And then we're just going to glue him right on to our lid. Try to get him fairly centered, but if he's not perfect, that's okay. And again, don't worry if you get a little bit of glue like outside of it, it'll dry clear. So I wouldn't worry too much. So we'll let that dry. Okay, so our box is all done. I let it dry for a little while. Here's the top. So all you simply have to do is kind of put the box together inside your lid, and pull your lid off, and you'll see that your box opens up. Look at how fun. So you have your first layer, and again, you add whatever decorations that you want to this. You can add photos, little stories, whatever you want, and then like each layer, I'll kind of fold them up so you can see. So this is obviously the first layer with the little butterflies. And then we have the dark layer where I put the little frames. But again, you do whatever you want. These are all your kind of creations. Then the next layer is the one that we wrote on, which, like I said, smudged really bad. It's just the pens and the paper. They just don't go well together. Then we have the little heart layer. Again, these are really fun to tell like a story. And then we have our final layer, and then it lays down. I'll lay it down so you guys can see it a little bit better. But there you go. That is an explosion box. Super easy, really fun. You can make these from scratch. You saw how to do it. Like I said, you may need to slow the video down a little bit. You may need to watch it a couple of times. Don't worry, you will get this. It is a little confusing, but I know that you can do it. I have all the faith in the world in you guys that you can make such beautiful projects. So I'll show you really quick how to fold it up. So your little butterflies are going to go inside, and I like to just kind of pinch them, and then they kind of go into your like your box, and then I kind of hold it with one hand, grab your lid, and then I put my lid on an angle. Then flip it to its side, and then you just sort of tuck all of the edges into your box. Whoops, and I didn't mean to do that, but You just tuck all of your edges into your box. And sometimes it can be a little bit of a struggle, but you'll get there. You just kind of gotta wiggle it in, and then you have this beautiful box. Now the corners are always going to look a little bit funky just because we have the butterflies in them, so they will be a little bit different than if you were to make it without the butterflies, but I really like having something on those outside corners, and I love the big butterfly on the top and his little wings move. So fun, so easy, and it just makes a really impactful gift. If you guys have any questions about this, please let me know in those comments down below. I am always happy to answer those for you. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. That way you don't miss out on any of the fun, crafty content we have here. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And as always, happy crafting!